Have you ever heard of a city so infamous that its name became a byword for sin and divine judgment? Today, we're journeying back in time to uncover the dramatic story of Sodom, a tale of hospitality, wickedness, and a fiery end that has echoed through millennia. This isn't just an ancient legend, it's a powerful narrative that challenges us to think about morality, mercy, and the consequences of our choices. Our story begins in a lush, well-watered plain, where to prosperous cities, Sodom and Gomorrah stood as symbols of wealth and abundance. Life was good, perhaps too good. According to ancient texts, the inhabitants grew arrogant, selfish, and cruel. Their society was marked by extreme injustice, a complete disregard for the poor and needy, and a shocking lack of hospitality as sacred duty in the ancient world. They turned their backs on strangers and exploited the vulnerable, creating a culture of profound corruption. At the heart of this story is a man named Abraham and his nephew, Lot. Abraham was known for his righteousness and his close relationship with God. One day, 3 mysterious visitors appeared at Abraham's tent. Exhibiting exemplary hospitality, Abraham welcomed them, washed their feet, and prepared a lavish meal. It was then revealed that 2 of these visitors were angels, and their host was God himself, appearing in human form. They came with a grave message. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was so great that they had come to see if the wickedness was as bad as reported. Abraham, knowing his nephew Lot lived in Sodom, was deeply troubled. In a remarkable and bold negotiation, he pleaded for the city. "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" he asked. He bargained, asking if the city would be spared for 50 righteous people. The number went down. 45, 40, 30, 20, and finally, just 10. God agreed if 10 righteous people could be found, the city would be spared. So, the 2 angels continued their journey and arrived at the gate of Sodom in the evening. There they found Lot, sitting at the city gate, a common place for social and business gatherings. Just like his uncle Abraham, Lot immediately showed them hospitality. He bowed down and urged them to stay the night in his home, insisting they not spend the night in the public square, hinting at the dangers that lurked there. The angels initially refused, but Lot's persistence convinced them. Inside Lot's house, a meal was prepared, but before they could rest, the situation took a terrifying turn. The men of the city, both young and old, from every part of Sodom, surrounded the house. They pounded on the door, demanding that Lot bring out his guests so they could assault them. This was the ultimate violation of hospitality and human decency. The scene was one of chaos and pure malice, confirming the city's depravity. Lot, in a desperate and morally questionable attempt to protect his guests, went outside and pleaded with the mob. He even offered them his 2 daughters instead, a shocking proposal that highlights the extreme cultural value placed on protecting guests and the sheer panic of the moment. But the mob was not interested. They grew even angrier, accusing Lot, an immigrant himself, of trying to judge them. They threatened to harm him more than his guests and surged forward to break down the door. At that critical moment, the angelic visitors intervened. They pulled Lot back inside the house, shut the door, and struck the men outside with a blinding light. The mob, now in a state of confusion, exhausted themselves trying to find the doorway, unable to carry out their wicked plan. The angels' divine power was revealed, and their mission became clear. Inside, the angels delivered the chilling verdict to Lot: "We are going to destroy this place." The outcry against its people had reached heaven. They urged Lot to gather his family, his wife, his son-in-law, his daughters, and flee immediately. "Get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." Lot rushed to warn his son-in-law, who were engaged to his daughters, but they thought he was joking. They laughed at his warning, unable to comprehend the imminent doom. Their disbelief sealed their fate. As dawn broke, the angels grew urgent. "Hurry," they said to Lot. "Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." But Lot hesitated. Perhaps he was reluctant to leave his home, his possessions, his entire life behind. Seeing his hesitation, the angels grabbed his hand and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city. This was an act of mercy, a direct intervention to save the only righteous family unit found. Once they were on the plain, one of the angels commanded, "Flee for your lives. Don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain." "Flee to the mountains or you will be swept away." Lot, fearing he wouldn't make it to the mountains, pleaded for a concession. He asked to flee to a small nearby town, and his request was granted. The angel promised not to overthrow that town, highlighting a final moment of mercy amidst the judgment. Then, as the sun rose over the land, the judgment began. The Lord rained down burning sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the heavens. The destruction was absolute. The cities, the entire plain, all the inhabitants, and everything that grew on the ground were completely destroyed. It was a cataclysmic event that wiped the wicked cities off the face of the earth. And here we come to one of the most poignant and cautionary parts of the story. As Lot and his daughters fled, his wife, against the explicit command of the angels, looked back. What did she see? The home she was leaving. The life she once knew? We don't know for sure, but her disobedience, her longing for the condemned city, had an immediate and bizarre consequence. She was transformed into a pillar of salt. For centuries, travelers in the region have pointed to salt formations near the Dead Sea, seeing in them a permanent monument to the danger of looking back. From a safe distance, Abraham looked out towards Sodom and Gomorrah the next morning. He saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. The once thriving plain was now a desolate wasteland. But in the midst of this devastation, the text reminds us that God remembered Abraham, and it was because of this remembrance that he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where he had lived. Abraham's intercession had saved his nephew's life, even if it couldn't save the city itself. So, what are we to make of this dramatic and frankly terrifying story? On one level, it's a stark warning about the consequences of societal decay, injustice, and cruelty. The sins of Sodom weren't just one thing, but a complete breakdown of morality, particularly in how they treated the most vulnerable and the stranger among them. It's also a profound story about divine justice and mercy. Justice is swift and total, yet mercy is extended to the very last moment. God was willing to spare the entire city for just 10 good people. He physically pulled Lot and his family to safety. This isn't just a story of wrath, but of a desperate search for goodness and a willingness to save it. And finally, it's a personal challenge. Lot's wife looking back serves as a powerful metaphor. It warns us against clinging to a past that is destructive, against the temptation to return to lifestyles and mindsets that we know are harmful. The command was to move forward towards safety and a new beginning, without longing for the corruption left behind. The story of Sodom has been debated and interpreted for thousands of years, and its meaning continues to resonate. It forces us to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a righteous person in a corrupt society? How do we treat the strangers and the vulnerable among us? And when we are called to leave a destructive past behind, do we have the courage to flee without looking back? Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most powerful tales. What are your thoughts on the story of Sodom? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories that have shaped our world. See you next time.